Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to Aligning with Success. I'm your host, Mike DiMuccio, Royal Diamond. We have some newbies on the call, so bear with us as we take you through some information here. But I just want to welcome Michael Behrman,
Thank you.
who's been with Nikan a month. And what's your experience so far, Michael, in a sentence or two?
Using the products, specifically the water, I have the waterfall and I use the insoles. And I happen to have a brain tumor, not malignant, but it affects my balance. But the insoles really help ground me. So whereas I might otherwise live a life where I'm not ambulatory, the insoles and the water enable me to live a life like I'm an athlete.
Wow,
So
amazing.
yeah.
One of our colleagues who may be on the call tonight, I asked him to share something. Philippe, he's kind of new to Nikan as well, in the Montreal area. He was on vacation last week and sent me a video of a gentleman he was with who was walking backward and forward on the outside of the hotel. And he asked him, like, what's happening? And this fellow went from a bent, like a curved leg and a limp to straight and walking normal with 10 minutes use of Nikan. It's like, wow. And so even Philippe was just blown away. And that's the beautiful thing. My daughter last night, I don't know if she sent me a text or sent the group a text. And it was a simple thing, but it meant something. It meant so much. Let me just read this to you. Let's see, it's in... Got to get a lot of text messages. Here it is. It says, I gave my friend a power chip and Kenko tape because he twisted his ankle and it was super swollen. Gave it to him this morning and just got this message now. Thanks so much for sending the healing products. My foot feels much better today after using them. And I just said to her, feels good to know you were able to help someone. She says, yeah, feels great. And that's the truth of the matter. When you have something that rewards you emotionally more than money is obviously important. It's why we are in business, and a business that's going to be successful has to make more money than it expends. But there's a remuneration in Nikan unlike anything I've experienced, where just the simple notion that you made somebody feel better. Every time I walk into my favorite restaurants, about 6 minutes from here, the waiter, one of my favorite waiters, Gary, is wearing 2 of the Nikan bracelets, one on each wrist. Something had happened to him about 3 years ago, and he just swears by it. And every time somebody is at lunch or dinner with me, he goes out of his way to tell them, see this? Thanks to this guy. And he goes and tells the story. He's my own marketing and promotion agent at the restaurant. But I think it feels really great when you have something that you can share with people that makes a difference. And especially if it's something that can impact somebody quickly. Pills and potions are great if they do their job, and, it's a little bit more difficult to measure the impact, and it takes time to see if there's a before and after effect. And when you're in a marketing business and you're trying to create excitement, you need something a little bit more spontaneous, a little bit more reactive. We're in the society that is expecting immediate results, very low attention span and so forth. So when you actually have deliverables like that, products that can make that impact, you have what it takes to attract attention. And that's the key to marketing. I don't care what you're selling, as long as you can attract people's attention and they lean into the conversation, you're winning. Because there's a certain percentage of those interactions that will translate into a sale. And so if you've got people leaning into the conversation rather than leaning away, the experience for yourself as a consultant is so much more exciting. It's so much more rewarding. And yes, we're still going to deal with a percentage of people that converts into an actual transaction. But the key here is you're making a difference, and you can actually do demos and have an impact on somebody. Even if they don't buy, you see and feel and experience the impact that makes, and you watch them as they react to it. And it's like being a Nikan on day one every time that happens. And so what is the value of that when you're looking at this as a business opportunity, what is the value of your sales force, if you will, your network, being reinvigorated every day that they're making a demonstration or a presentation? What's the value of that? Where you're not having to crack a whip and you're not having to do any special anything. They're just simply engaging with people and creating an experience, and that experience is real, tangible, and it's rewarding, even though it doesn't translate necessarily into a transaction. You have to understand the value of that. If you have a network like I have, 30 years in the making, thousands of people on 4 continents, and they're responding on a daily basis to that type of a behavior, that type of an action, then you've got a built-in motivation. You've got like the energy bunny, the ever ready energy bunny. It just keeps going because it's reinvigorating every time. So I want to add that because we have the products that do that. Now, you may not get that effect drinking a glass of Jade Green Zymes. You may say, hey, try this, and stir up a glass of Jade Green Zymes and let them taste it. And they'll say, oh, it tastes like green tea, or it tastes really good, or whatever. But it's unlikely that you're going to get, a superhuman experience like you do typically on the magnetics and so forth. Now, you can learn to do the demonstrations, which they do work. The energy test, the balance test, having them drink a glass of that versus a glass of, say, something else to contrast it. You can definitely create that experience. But for the long run, to create an organization, to attract people into a conversation, to get something really going in terms of building an organization, having products that can create high impact is huge, huge, and very unique in the industry. So Niken has its place in the network marketing community as a network marketing company because it has always had this strategic advantage. There is, however, a challenge that occurs because of such a program. Because we have such incredibly high impact technology to attract attention and for people to discover and share, we forget sometimes that our business will pay us indefinitely if we have repeat business. And so where does the repeat business come from? It's not just the consumption of the durables, which is for the most part a one-time purchase. I want to share with you a business plan, a business vision, and an understanding of how I, at this moment in time, 50% of the income that I receive in my monthly commissions, half of that income is earned before day one. Before day one of the month, I'm already halfway paid. 50% of my earnings is already in the hopper before the first day of the month. Now, how would you like to start the month with half of your earnings already earned? Okay, that's not going to happen tomorrow. It has to be part of your business plan so that as you build your business and as it grows, you're going to grow this growing concern that will become a very large percentage, a large share of your earnings. And that means a real, legitimate passive income stream. So I want to share with you a couple of slides because I think this education is something that needs to be repeated every now and then and really do the math on it. So you understand intrinsically how important it is to pay attention to this. Now, there's always a tendency in every business, and especially in this business, for us to make the pendulum swing from one end to the other. And then we have to bring it back and it swings all the way over to the other end. Then we have to bring it back and it ends up swinging out. So I'm trying to get us to this middle ground, this place where, as in, if you're in a rowboat and you've got 2 oars, you're not going to row with one oar, realize I'm just going in circles. So you stop and you start rowing with the other oar. And now you reverse the circles, but you're still only going in circles. And then you say, okay, that didn't work. So you do this again. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's going in circles. And then you do this again. It's like, no. The answer is you row with both oars. You got to have both engines in the water in order to give you forward movement so that there's progression. What you're seeing here on this chart, these are real numbers, okay? The reason why they're real numbers is they're based on our compensation plan. Our compensation plan tells us a very fundamental thing. In the leadership bonus, we earn 6% of the commissionable volume of our organization down through 6 generations when you are maxed out. In other words, when I'm earning the most I can as a Royal Diamond, I'm earning 6 generations of leaders. And assuming all my leaders are doing what they do as leaders, the golds, the silvers, the platinums, the diamonds, and other Royal Diamonds, that means they're producing volume. Now, we get paid only on volume, not on recruitment, but the more people we add to the network, the more people are using and consuming and promoting Nikken products, which generates volume, and that's what we're compensated on. So this example, this illustration here is a great illustration because I consider it modest. I consider this illustration modest. And it begins with you right here at the top left-hand side. That's you sitting in your Nikken Wellness Home. And what you have done is you've surrounded yourself by your immediate sphere of influence, the people you have, let's just say, the most influence with. And of course, Nikken wants to be the most influential wellness community, and you being a microcosm of the macrocosm, you need to be an influential wellness advocate, an influential wellness community builder. So what does that mean? That means that because you are an enthusiast where these products are concerned, you use and promote and advocate these products, from which you generate customers. And there's 5 very loyal customers who have their hands open to a Nikken Wellness Home experience. And so they're inviting the wellness experience into their home on an ongoing basis. And then we have right below us our 3 core partners. Now, you might have sponsored 30 people or even more, but out of those 30 people, who are your core partners? Obviously, the ones who are really building this out as an organization. They're doing the replication. So that means those 3 are going to do what you've done. They're going to invite people to join their team, of which 3 become their core partner. And they're each going to have their 5 core customers, resulting in 45 customers on your next generation. And then as that moves out, as we teach and show people, this is the business strategy. I mean, think of a McDonald's. If McDonald's didn't have a formula for operating a franchise, it'd be a mishmash. Every time you walk into a McDonald's, you don't know what you're going to be getting. It'll look different. It'll feel different. The food will taste different. They may not even have the same food. So there's a recipe that's called McDonald's. That's made it, they've figured out what the recipe is to make a successful restaurant, and then they just duplicated it. Now we have this franchise concept. So with Nikken doesn't give you those directions, but I'm showing you, what if you actually adopted this? And you said, okay, my business is going to have a recipe. Now, there's going to be more to this than what you see here, but at the very least, I'm going to work towards something that is a replicatable process and system, because that creates predictable behavior and predictable results. So now, as we generate those results and we in turn teach others to do the same, and this expands our circle of influence, going from our immediate circle of influence to the referrals, to the referrals, to the referrals, each of whom on the left-hand side here are partners, each of whom on the right-hand side here are their customers. What you see is an organization that's expanding outward of people who are enthusiastic about Nikken products, to say the least, some of which are very enthusiastic about building an organization because there's an income possibility they're interested in. And right across the top is what the income possibility is based on this simple, easy to follow recipe. 5 core customers and 3 core partners, each of whom are using and or consuming 100 CV, commissionable volume points, of products per month. That's the average for your core influencers, the people who you've had the most influence with. Now, I know these numbers are real because I actually know the company's average, which is $163. So these are real numbers. Now, and we're talking about your core. If that's the average, what would you actually expect from your core? Probably a lot more. So that's why I said this is extremely modest. I think this is the most modest you can possibly make this. So now, what happens in terms of the volume? If each of these people on this chart are actually using the products because they're enthusiastic about it, and on a monthly basis, that amounts to an average of 100 CV per wellness home. I mean, each of these people have a home. They're living in a home. There are other people in that home, presumably. It's not just one person, but we're saying 100 CV per month per wellness home, regardless of how many people might be in it. If you came to my house, you would know this number is really low ball compared to what I actually do as an ECAN consumer. So what is the actual income generated? Well, based on these spheres of influence, if you've taken it out to the second generation, it's $500 a month to you, and you've acquired the rank of silver from that volume, which means every single month you're doing the equivalent of what a silver would be doing. If you push it out to the next generation, you're doing the volume of a gold, not just achieving it, but actually maintaining it. And that's the income associated with that. And then there's platinum at 4,500, diamond at 13,500, royal diamond at 40,000, and that's down through 6 generations. Now, I don't think there's a human being alive on this call, and most of the people you probably know, who would sneeze at $40,000 a month in income. Especially since this income, the majority of which is coming from activity they are not personally involved in. The only activity they are personally involved in is right here. This is an organization that's been built. It's already been built, and that's the income that's happening as a result of having built it. Now, let me give you an analogy. When a condominium goes up in any city, or any tower for that matter, there are people contracted to build that thing, and there are builders building it, and people who hire the builders to build it, and there's money being made in building it. There's money to be made in building condos and towers, which is why they build them. Somebody's making a fortune building condominiums, towers, homes, and so forth for people to reside in or for people to work in. Now, once the thing is built and everybody's made their money, is that the end? Or does money keep getting made? Well, of course, money keeps getting made. Somebody's renting those spaces. Somebody's paying the hydro bill. Somebody's paying the water bill. Somebody's paying utilities and so forth, heating and whatnot. There's money being made of the occupants, from the occupants, the people occupying that building and that space. So money is made in building it, and money is made having built it. And that's the same in this. We earn an income in building the organization from the product purchases of people as they start their DCAN wellness journey. But we continue to earn income from people continuing on their DCAN wellness journey. And so what is it that we want to encourage people to do so we can start to see these numbers in our own experience? We need to teach them this. We need to show them this, because they don't usually have this going for them in their current reality. What's super, super important about looking at this model and understanding this model, something that Luis Kasuga, our CEO, was in Toronto talking about. And I asked in a call the other night from the people who were there, what was the takeaway? What was your biggest takeaway? And the one thing that kept coming back was leveraged income. Leveraged income, because Luis made a really interesting case for leveraged income. He said $1 earned of leveraged income, which is a different income source than trading time for money, is worth more than $100 earned trading time for money. Now think about that. What's he talking about? $1 versus $100. Clearly there's different numbers there, but he's saying if you're earning $1 through a leveraged income source versus 100 trading time for money, the difference is enormous in terms of value, because that trading time for money requires a certain amount of your time, but that leveraged income doesn't. So if you can make $1, you can make 100. If you can make 100, you can make 1,000. All you have to do is figure out how you made the first $1 and teach others to do it or replicate it. And so what you're seeing here is an example of this, that you can learn how to do something with some amount of time that will replicate and create an income that dwarfs or at the very least matches what you're currently earning trading time for money. An example being, once upon a time, a formula worked in North America where a person with an 8-hour day job sleeps 8 hours a night and plays 8 hours a day. So we get up in the morning after 8 hours of sleep, we work for 8 hours, and then we play for 8 hours, or we entertain ourselves for 8 hours. That used to be enough for a person to pay a mortgage in 10 years. In 10 years, they would have their house paid off with that formula. Does that formula work today? Not even a hope in hell does it come close to paying off. Now you have 2 income families, 2 incomes in the home. It takes about 30 years at best to pay a mortgage with 2 incomes. And is it with an 8-hour formula, 8 hours sleep, 8 hours work, 8 hours play? Or is it more like 10 hours work or 12 hours work these days? Okay, so it's changed. So if you can make some leveraged income, you can change the formula. And learning how to do that over the next 3 to 5 years will shift the formula in your favor to a point where you can get your income to match your 8-hour day job or 10-hour day job. Now you have a part-time income source matching your full-time income stream. Now, we don't talk enough about this, but that's the reality. I've lived that reality for more than 30 years of my Nikan career, and I've helped others do the same. And it's important, as excited as we are about the products, to get excited about the prospect of having this leveraged income working for ourselves and for the people we care about, especially as we come into hard times financially. A lot of people are experiencing that as a consequence of the last 2.5 years. Some people's income streams have been decimated, and they're not going to be too anxious about spending money to feel healthier. But I'll tell you, they'll spend the money if it's an investment to make money. The same argument about the product doesn't hold true if you're in financial need. Person's not looking to feel better, they're looking to make money. And so you can still use the same product, only in this capacity, it's to generate an income. So we have to show them how that's possible. Or for that person who's looking for a way out of the rat race or coming upon retirement, they're saying, I don't have the income, I don't have enough in reserves to be able to retire. Retirement's not a possibility for me because my 401k is more like a 201k. And so what now? This is a way for them to create leveraged income. So we need to start talking about this, but I want to show you more. Let me show you what it looks like in reality in terms of your income. Now, trying to put all this on a curve, on a graph is not easy because these curves don't look exactly, the shape is right. It's just, I'm trying to give you a perspective over time. So here you are, you've created your core circle of influence, and we're going to teach people how to do that. Now, how you did that was you launched your Nikan business, you created a flurry of activity, you attracted a bunch of people. From that starts to formulate the pie. The pie is in the oven, and it's going to come out looking like some nice customers and some partners. Now what? So that original explosion, which I'm going to call this curve right here, this curve on the bottom here, that's you launching your business. And then every now and then you're going to revisit that. You might go into, you might be working a little bit, and then maybe you're going to go into another launch. I did four launches in my Nikan career. The first launch took my business to the gold level. The second launch took my business to the platinum level. The third launch took my business to the diamond level. And the fourth launch took my business to the royal diamond level. Each launch, which happened at different stages of my career, my last one happened in my 5th year. Each of the launches pushed my business forward because it was a concerted effort. It wasn't something that happened on its own. I pushed it, and I had help, and that created an outcome. So these little explosions here, by the way, you notice they're less and less. They're not as much as the first, because that's actually what happened in my career. I sponsored a heck of a lot more people in my first 2 months than I did in the rest of my career. But I got good at sponsoring. I started to figure out who I wanted to sponsor, who actually meant what they said. I started getting good at listening to what people are saying, not what they're using their mouth to do, but what they're actually saying, their body language, what they're intending. I started to get good at understanding when people were being sincere. And so I didn't need to recruit as many people to find my next grouping of core partners. But I'm just giving you a profile, a business that you launch and then you relaunch and then you relaunch with the expectation each time you're moving that airplane up to a higher altitude. Now, as you teach what you're doing, there are some of those core partners on your team that are going to do what you're doing. And so when we look at the volume that's created by your core partners, as that starts to replicate, this is what happens. It creates this other volume. This is the volume that I call the reproductive volume. This is your volume coming from your downline, reproducing what it is that you were doing, the duplication of what you did. So you created a core circle of influence. Now you start duplicating that, and that starts to create this explosion of volume below you. And now it'll reach a peak. You're thinking, wait, why would it reach a peak? If this was working, why would it peak? Well, because if you understand our compensation plan, you understand that they're not recruiting forever. They're doing this in cycles, in waves. And so the accumulation of those waves looks like this, like a super wave, but it still looks like a wave. And the other thing is, as the volume starts to move further down, 7th generation, 8th generation, 9th generation, those volumes are below your pay line. You get paid up to 6 generations, not below. So the volumes continue to grow. The organizational volume continues to grow, but your income reaches its peak and then it levels off. So that's what happened. My peak in my Nikan career was 303,000 for 1 month. That was the height of my income check in a month. And then it leveled off. But I understand this curve, and this is what it looks like a successful business looks like. So don't expect it to go up forever where the replication's concerned. Here's what is the most exciting. What's this all for? Remember I said in the skyscraper, you're building the business and you're building a skyscraper and somebody's making money, right? You're making money building the thing. But once it's built, money's still being earned. These things, they stay up for decades, and people are making money today for a building that was built 30 years ago. I am making money today for a business that was built essentially 25 years ago. So how's that possible? It's this last curve here. This curve is the curve of consumers. Now, when I say consumers, I'm not just talking about customers who just were customers. Like right now, you can have somebody register as a customer, buy products, and never join the business. Fine, that's a customer, retail customer. But what about the people who joined the business and didn't stay active in building the business? They're not sponsoring more people, but are they still using the products? I am. I still use a heck of a lot of products in my Nikan Wellness Home, as do you and as do others. So at the end of the day, who are the customers? All of us. And so what you're seeing here is an accumulation of customers. Business builders are temporal. They come and go in waves. Their activity, their intensity, it comes and goes in waves and creates these other curves. But the big long-term curve, the one that we're really after, the Walmart money, is the consumers coming in month after month after month after month after month because they fall in love with the Nikan products and the experience that it gives them. For instance, you sell Nikan Waterfall. If you stay in touch with that customer over time, do they not need a replacement cartridge every 3 months? Yeah. If they want the water that they bought and they want to maintain the quality of that water, they're going to need to replace their filter cartridge. Otherwise, they're going to lose the value of that purchase, and they lost the whole concept of wellness and active wellness, which is not something you give up on. It's something you maintain. So our job is to service those customers and help them stay enthusiastic about wellness. An example of that is the new curriculum on Tuesdays with Dr. Gary Lindner producing some really great content so we can educate our customers and our downlines, which is essentially are our customers too, about the various aspects of the Nikan Wellness Home. Because most people don't know all the products. Most people don't own all the products. Well, it's only the real enthusiasts, the ones who have really vested in the business, who have everything in spades. I have 3 air units just in my master bedroom. Now, Our CEO came into that room and he understood why I have 3, because it's huge. But the point is, the people who are your best customers are the people who are most interested and most vested in the business. There will always be your best customers, but there will be customers who are just customers who need our products no matter what. So let me just share with you then, how does that other curve, it used to be a color, it used to be red. So let's imagine this olive green color is actually red. So when I say the red curve, you know what I'm talking about. How do we acquire that curve, and how does that curve continue to generate income 20 and 30 years into the future? Why is it worth the effort now to build this thing now? Why build the building now? Because you're going to get paid for the next 30 plus years. How? Really simple. The way they've been doing it since the beginning of NECAN, since 1975. There's the initial startup of the NECAN Wellness Home. So when somebody becomes a customer, whether they're buying into it as a business opportunity or they're buying it into it as somebody who wants to fix their knee, whatever the reason is that caused them to make an initial purchase, that was the beginning of their journey. And we don't want that to be the end of the journey. We want it to be the beginning of a great experience and a life-lasting experience where NECAN becomes their brand when it comes to wellness. How many of you have a brand when it comes to insurance? How many of you have a brand when it comes to lipstick? How many of you have a brand when it comes to detergent? How many of you have a brand when it comes to cars and so on? Well, what's your brand when it comes to wellness, total wellness? We hope it's NECAN, and we hope it's NECAN for life. Here's why. There's the initial start of your wellness home. It might be large, it might be small. Maybe you've taken advantage of a pack or two, whatever, doesn't matter. You get it started. Every wellness home has a beginning and no end. Now, to keep that wellness home going, just like you have hydro bill and gas bill and whatever bill, to keep your NECAN wellness experience going, your active wellness experience, there's going to be some products that you're going to need to keep your body healthy and to keep your products tip top. If you've got a shower unit, you need a replacement cartridge. Any of the filter units require replacement cartridges on some regimen, every 3 months, every 6 months, every year. Why not put those things on auto ship? You save money by putting them on auto ship, and then you don't have to think about them. This is, of course, the assumption I'm making is that you bought it for a reason and you want it to stick around for a while. You want the value of what you bought to continue to service you, which means you're not buying a one-time item. You're buying a product that produces an outcome, and you want the outcome, so you maintain the product. It's no different than a car. How many of you have a car and you change the oil per the manufacturer's specifications? Why? Because you want that car to take you places, and you don't want the car to break down prematurely. So we service the car, not because it's broken, we do that too, but we service the car to prevent it from being broken, so we get the benefit of having a car and all it does for us. No different with your NECAN Wellness Home experience. So there's the monthly support of repeat purchases, which consists of consumables and replacement parts, such as the filters and so forth. And I'll touch a little bit more on the consumables in a moment. That'll be the last thing I want to talk about. Then there's upgrades. Now, you might start with a sport bottle. Next thing you know, you're buying a waterfall. And then you buy the shower because you figure, well, if I'm worried about the water I'm putting in my body, what about the water I'm surrounding my body with every day? There's so many toxins coming through my skin. Let's take care of business here. And then you might get onto other things, especially if you participate in the education that these weekly seminars are providing, because they're going to teach you about stuff. I posted a week ago a video that's really old of a fellow that I spent 4 hours on a train going from from St. Petersburg, Russia to Moscow, 4-hour train ride. And man, is this guy chock full of information, all interesting, by the way. But wow, does this guy know stuff. He is a Chinese herbologist. He was like the herbologist of the stars, Mel Gibson and all of his clients. And this guy had stuff to say about NECAN products. And boy, when we captured him on video in that video that I shared last week, and if you don't have it, just ask me, I'll reshare it because it's just too good. It's so good. As soon as I heard it again, I'm like, damn, I better be more on point with my consumables. I mean, I've got them sitting in the kitchen, but you miss a day or two or whatever. No, not anymore. You just remind yourself of how good this stuff is and how relevant it is to my health and longevity. I'm like, I'm crazy if I'm not taking this. It's sitting on the counter. Take it, drink it, use it, because it matters. And when you hear that audio, you go like, wow, that's insane. I didn't know that. Did you know that mushrooms were the #1 prescribed medication treatment for cancer before radiation therapy came along, before chemotherapy came along? We used to treat cancer with mushrooms. There's a book called Medical Mushrooms or Medicinal Mushrooms or Miracle Mushrooms, and Nikken is in the book. The Nikken mushrooms complex, the Nikken formula, our mushrooms, 14 mushrooms, is in their book as the quote, Rolls Royce of mushrooms. Nikken, imagine that. So there you go. Now you know. That's one of our top sellers, by the way, rightly so, because it's also one of the most important products when it comes to health and longevity for the prevention of illness, disease, inflammation, and a whole whack of stuff you're going to learn when you listen to this audio. You're going to be saying, wow, like that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I mean, I thought the waterfall was cool. I had no idea how cool those nutritionals are. He talks about a few of them. The Siaga being absolutely a gemstone. The mushrooms, cornerstone, and the foundation of our nutritional is the jade green cymes. So it's like, and you might not think of it that way because you think, you know, what got you excited about Nikken? It was probably a demo or something. Probably somebody fixed your knee or your hip or your elbow or whatever with a magnet and an infrared or some CM cream. And you don't think about the nutritionals because it's not something you had a conversation about. But once you understand them, you're like, wow, that is like primo stuff. But when you understand the business model and you're here looking at this as a business, it's like, yeah, I would not want to have these things in my business. This is what's going to keep the engine going for the next 40, 50 years of my life. That's what's going to pay my bills, is to have people souped up on these nutritionals because it's whole food and it's the primo whole food. And you can't find that pretty much anywhere. It's more expensive. And you can try this, by the way. Add up all the mushrooms in the Nikken product and figure out how much it would cost you to actually buy them, the amount. And then look at the cost of the bottle and you'll realize, holy crap, it's way cheaper to buy the Nikken nutritional that's made it's when you listen to how it's made, they do it in a way that the mushrooms cannot be contaminated. I mean, it's just insane. So you just, if you got your mushrooms out in the the store, they're contaminated by every person walking by. So you can imagine how primo stuff this is, and it's even cheaper than buying it and making it yourself, so to speak. So that's one thing. The upgrades are something that happens when somebody gets involved in the education. And the more we educate people, and who is educated more than anybody? Obviously the consultants. People in the business who want to make money are going to come to the events. They're going to learn about stuff because they're interested in making money, and they're going to learn about how they can make that money, and they're going to learn about the products, which is a means to making that money. So they start to learn about the products, and then they start to realize these are products I want to have, and they start to have them, and they start to experience them, and now they become your best customers. That's the process. Now, if the home has more people, then there's going to be additional users. Just like how many cell phones are in your home? Maybe it started with one, but how many are there now? So when you consider every wellness home as a beginning and no end, that also includes new experiences that people come into because they have family members who start to experience the products. And so that's an additional source of revenue as more products come into that home as a consequence of more users. And then finally, does Nikken not innovate? Are these the same products we had 30 years ago? No, there's constant innovation and renovation. There's constant augmentation to the product line, new technologies and so forth. And that's a commitment that Nikken's research and development department takes care of. You don't have to worry about that. So every time there's something new and exciting that comes out from Nikken, it's a whole new business. It's a new opportunity to learn about a new product and to share a new product into the wellness mix. And each of these products are complementary. So we're adding to the wellness home. I remember the wellness home when it was first invented. The analogy was, back in the day, you used to buy a hi-fi stereo and you get your television audio and you put your audio into the hi-fi so you could get your speakers from your hi-fi to broadcast the TV sound. And then you started putting things like a VCR started to come into play. And now we had the VCR connected to the TV, connected to the audio player. And then we had this, then it changed. It became a DVD player. So the DVD player replaced this VCR that was connected to the hi-fi. Then they started to sell this thing as a package, and they called it a home entertainment system. And now when you go out shopping, you don't buy a component system, you buy an entertainment system. And you don't put it together, you just buy the system and it's already put together. So the system, the home entertainment system, why? Because we want to be entertained. Where? At home, our center for entertainment. Well, every time they make an augmentation, a change to that technology, what do? You upgrade. That's what you do. That's what we all do. How many of you got a flat screen TV now? When did you get that? Well, when it became the thing. And you moved away from VCRs and got to DVDs when it became the thing. And now we just stream. Now it's streaming. That's the thing. So now you're subscription-based streaming, right? So think about it. Once you are sold on an idea, on a concept, like your home is your center for entertainment and you want to have the bells and whistles that go, the going concern, the same thing is true for everything if you buy into it. And that's the wellness home. If you buy into the wellness home, if you teach and educate people about it, what it is, what it means, what the values are, the fact that you're plugged into the most advanced premier health and wellness technology company, the company that's going to keep you always at the leading edge of the wellness revolution, and their product innovations will assure you that. Now you have a brand when it comes to wellness. I don't think about much. I just think about what Sneakin got going. So this whole entourage, this experience that I've just shared with you, this flow of products into the home, into the wellness home, creates a never-ending cycle of health and prosperity. And that's what creates that cash flow, which is what I was showing you before. That's how that money continues to come in. Yes, and the organization does continue to expand because all of those people in those organizations are building their Royal Diamond businesses. And so the organization, 50% of my income on any given month is coming from new members joining the organization, either as customers or consultants, and 50% is coming from those who are already part of the organization and have been for quite some time. That's a very healthy and incredible business opportunity to be able to talk about and share. Any questions about it? So now, what program do we have that can really cement this idea of a wellness home and the ongoing benefits of that experience?
Wellness subscription.
Yep, we have a thing called the wellness subscription, formerly known as AutoShip. It's an opportunity for you to give a customer or consumer or a consultant in your team a benefit. The benefit is you want this wellness, right? That's why you bought it. You bought a waterfall. Why? Just like for 3 months? Or are you going to replace the filter when it's time to replace the filter? Like, let's think. Yeah, I'm going to replace the filter. I like the water. I love the water. I love the taste. I love the everything. Okay, good. So let's get you on a subscription because you're going to buy that filter. The thing is, you're going to buy it now at 10% off because you're on a subscription, right? You like saving money? Well, be like the rest of us. Save money, get on the subscription. Then you won't have to worry about, oh, when is it time for me to change the filter? It comes in the mail. That's when it's time. So the AutoShip, the wellness subscription, is a benefit. It's a benefit to consumers. It's a benefit to all of us. And it's an incredible benefit to your business because now your business has repeat business. And what is the value of leveraged income? $1 of leveraged income is worth $100 of exchanging time for money. And when you've got leveraged income coming from customers who are not thinking about it, it's automatic because it's providing a service that's welcome and needed. Then what you have is automatic income. So AutoShip is auto income.
And when you have,
yep.
Oops, I don't have it up in front of there, right? When you have the 3645, I don't have it in front of my, let me see, where's my camera?
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
The chart.
time, yeah, that chart, that one, this one. when you're at the 5th level, not even the 6th level, or that is the 6th level of customers only, of 3,645
That's customers.
customers who
Just
have
on the 6th level.
who all have their own waterfall and are getting quarterly. Multiply that.
Yeah, just do
Multiply
the
that
math.
of just the waterfall. Yes, just the waterfall.
So this creates a conversation for a would-be business builder. Is it worth building? Is it worth building? And I consider this the brick. It's the brick. Understand what it is you're building and then teach it, because it's the brick. As you pile these bricks, you create a wall. As you create walls, you create towers. And there's money to be made in creating it, and there's money to be made having created it for life. So this is truly the brilliance of what we have. And we have two things that are such a leading edge. When you dig into those nutritionals and watch that video by Roger Drummond, you're going to say, okay, we definitely have leading edge when it comes to these nutritionals. This is a company that doesn't make things just for the sake of making things. If they do anything, they do to be the best at it. So whatever we got, it's super high grade, highest quality materials, highest quality sources, you name it. So that's Nikken. That's typical Nikken. That's the brand we're connected to. They don't create crap just for the sake of network marketing. They create real products for real benefits. But we also have those highly powerful, demonstratable, high impact durables that get the conversation started. And that creates excitement. And you can convert that excitement into activity, into new consumers. So we've got the front end and the back end. We've got both oars. We got the front end, which is the durables, the high ticket, high tech, very profitable, sharing that. And we got the back end, which is the repeat residual income that comes from having products that people are going to want long term. You got both. And that's how you create a business that's sustainable, keeps moving.
I have a good example, and you know her, Eunice Daniels in Pennsylvania, and Christine, remember when you came through Pennsylvania? They're inactive now. And so inactive as silvers, but voracious customers. They have, and the two are home alone now because the kids are all grown, but there's grandchildren. She has anywhere from $1,000 to $1,300 a month on auto ship. They use everything. And then any new product that comes out. She got 4 new air filters. When the new air filters came out, they ordered a new fit when the new fit sleep system came out. So they have that minimum of that. And so some months she qualifies as a silver and some months she doesn't, and it doesn't matter to her. They're retired, they're enjoying life. He's in Rotary International, has a big business of his own, but that's not a bad customer to have, and she's like, takes care. She'll text me, Madeline, did you know this or that? Kind of updating me in case I might have missed it. And so, and she's very happy, and I'm very happy, and she's very healthy. Her product experience was profound, saved her life, and so they are that passionate.
And there you go. And that's it.
Yeah.
And
And
over
that's
time,
probably 20 years. She's never missed a month. And
now her being silver means she obviously had one of those bumps. She created one of those movements,
Yes.
And got a number of people exposed and introduced, which created a bump in your income. So there's money to be made building it, which is really rich, our front end of the plan. And it's getting even better from what I understand. It's going to be getting really a lot better. The front end. So we get really paid to build it. There's going to be more money on the front end to build it. But then there's money on the back end once it's built, because these people, they stay as customers. I've got customers that are 30 years old as a customer. And that's amazing. That's long-term income. Now there's a name for it. Richard Brooke, one of my friends, and a guy I'm a big fan of. He wrote the book, The 4-Year Career. If you haven't read it, that's got to be in your library. And his wife wrote a book called The 4-Year Career for women. And he wrote a book called Mark II with Your Hair on Fire, one of my favorites. He calls this legacy companies. not often do you find a company that's a legacy company, and there's not a lot, but those that are legacy companies that have been around 20, 30, 50 years, these are companies that have weathered every kind of political storm, every kind of economic storm. And so there's something to be said about why they're a legacy company. How come they're still around when so many come and go? And the answer is because what they have is valuable and considered valuable and timeless. So consider that. I think Roger Drummer talks about one of the companies, maybe in this audio, one of the companies that created Nutrilite, that's still their biggest selling product. That was created like 75 years ago or something like that. So some of these things, if done right, they go on forever. They outlive us. Third, fourth generation. We're starting to see that in Nikken now. Second, third generation Nikken consultants, meaning that the family tree, the generations are the business is passed on to the next generation. Well, now you really got something that has legacy income. So how would you like to build something today that doesn't just reward you in this lifetime, but maybe the next generation and the generation after that? I mean, what is that worth? And it's something you can do part-time. It's something you will get help to do with your partners and collaborators, like the people on this call. It's something you can share with others and give them a leg up. It's fun. It's rewarding on so many levels, not just financially. I mean, seriously, when you put it all into perspective, you wonder, you got to be crazy to say no. Now, I understand you might be really, your level of enthusiasm is this at one day, and maybe it's that another day, and it can move because you're emotional, we're human, and there's circumstances that play out in your life that affect your focus. But to know that you have this always, it's there. So you can turn on, turn off at will. And like I said, you get paid to build it, and you get paid having built it, if it's built correctly. And I just shared with you the tools to build it correctly. What to educate people about. Talk about those 3 curves. Talk about the red curve, the olive green one, of course, I'm talking about. Talk about the fact that we have a business model that has both the best of both worlds: durables, high ticket, high tech, high touch products that create high impact, that creates the attention, the attraction, the desire to connect with Nikken. And then we have that ongoing back end that is so robust and so rich in itself that creates the ongoing income stream and the ongoing wellness experience. You got the best of both worlds, both oars in the water. Can't say that about everybody. And yet, so now let's take stock of one other thing. Is there room to grow? That's the only other question to be answered. Is there room to grow? Does everybody you know have Nikken products? Does everybody you know have every Nikken product? So that'll answer the question, is there room to grow? Of course there's room to grow. Millions and millions and millions of people never heard of this. Generations have not heard of this, and more to come. So this is as good a business education you could get, because if you understand the game, you know how to play the game, you can play to win.
I'm really excited about this presentation, Mike, because it's so easy to duplicate. You just push a button, and with new people, I have a new consultant. He was just asking, okay, what do I do now? Okay, I show him this, and I look at the CDN, the Canadian report every month. There are probably 50 people at least every month where their CV is not 100. It's close to 500. Certainly their PV is 500. So you can multiply all of this by 5. And then if we really teach consultants to go for the incentives like Club Ki, we know that the PGV every month has to be 2,000. And there are people who are motivated by these incentives. I certainly am, and just reached it again. So the numbers are super, super, super conservative, but they're still exciting. They don't have to be that conservative. I think for all practical purposes, they're much, much better than that. So this is like numbers for, you know, really good numbers, but for the worst case scenario where somehow everybody's feeling poor or something. So it is very exciting. And thank you so much for doing this again in one package.
My pleasure. So this recording will be obviously available as soon as we're done. And please do consider sharing it, because I think it's an important tool. I'm going to actually pause the recording so we just have it on that note. Thanks for plugging in.